Hey guys, welcome back to another video on the Inside Spurs channel. Hope you're enjoying your Thursday afternoon and whatever it is that you're doing. I hope you're just enjoying it, being safe as well. Got an interesting one really today around the sort of Pierre-Emile Hojbjerg situation. You know, I talked in other videos how he's got new representation with his agents, and in theory that normally brings up a very good chance of him moving. We do have an update around that as to where and when. We also have we have three bits of news around the injury situation and some good news on it. You'll be happy to know. That's why you're going to want to stick about. But we're starting with Pierre-Emile Hojbjerg and his situation at Spurs. So, a couple of bits for you. So, from Corriere dello Sport in Italy, they said that Pierre-Emile Hojbjerg has a clear intention to leave Spurs in January. Juventus are keen to sign him and efforts have already begun to make the move happen. The player's agent is due to fly into Turin today to meet Juventus sporting director Cristiano Guintoli. I don't know how to say it to most. Spurs want 30 million euros for the midfielder. Now, a couple of bits on that before I go into the next additional part to this whole Højbjerg situation. He is looking for new representation. I don't know if he's found it yet, though. So that's why I'm going to take this with a pinch of salt that the whole agent's going there this today or this week. I mean, to be honest, it doesn't really matter. We are sitting on September 28th. You've still got to go through October, November, December. You've got 3 months regardless before the window even opens. So going there is great and all. But at the end of the day, it doesn't affect us right this second. Now, what I would say is there's a key component to the whole Juventus situation, okay? The situation is Adrian Rabiot has a lot of interest from, I think it was Man United, it might still be on that list, Arsenal are on that list. There's a few different Premier League teams on the list for Rabiot. And he does only have 1 year on his contract. It does expire next summer. So, look, it's a logical replacement for Rabiot. He's a similar style player to even Rabiot. So that is interesting on that front. What Sky Sports added to that was that they're exploring a loan deal with a purchase option for Højbjerg for January. Tottenham, however, might prefer an obligation. The asking price remains steady at 30 million euros. For me, if he's doing a loan deal, I want an obligation for the summer. I think Spurs have been too forthcoming and easy on when it comes to, hey, here's a loan deal and like maybe an option to buy, which is a really outrageous and unlikely option. Look at Tanguy Ndombele when he went back to Ligue 1. I would prefer either it being a realistic option or an obligation. And for me, I take the obligation because you're guaranteed the money come summertime. I think Højbjerg has value. You could get, let's say, 20 to 25 million pounds out of him. I just think you get the money, you move on, you bring in players that are going to be here for the long haul. I said it in yesterday's video. The idea of if you lose a Perisic, if you lose a Højbjerg, if you lose anyone like that, the idea is then to replace them with someone that's going to be around for 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Højbjerg, we know, is not going to be that. When that's the case, we need to be moving them on. And I know that might be difficult for some fans because they do quite like Højbjerg, and there's nothing wrong with that. What I'm saying is, ask yourself this: do you see him sticking around for 2, 3, 4 years? If you don't, then move him on. Get your money. Get someone in who is maybe a similar style of player, who, let's be honest, has a higher upside, who can give you more in the long run, who's going to be around for multiple years. It makes way more sense to do that than hold on to someone for another 6 more months just to sell him in the summer when he's not going to be around anyway. You might as well cash in when you can get a little bit more money out of him in January that you can in the summer of 2024. So that is interesting on Højbjerg. I do see him moving in January. I do see him having a market in January. Teams get injuries, teams get suspensions, things like that, and they go, oh, God, we're going to need to bring someone in. Højbjerg's a good option. Maybe we look at Højbjerg, see if we can get a loan with an obligation or something in that realm that suits every party, and that's the important thing. We at Spurs, I think, at times have been a bit difficult when it came to selling our own players. I think sometimes we overvalue some of our players. I just think when you look at Sanchez was a good deal, but it's come really late in the market. It's a bit like, injuries, what happens, and then, it comes out that Andrew likes Phillips, and you can kind of understand that they'd pre-planned to move Sanchez on. Well, on Højbjerg, when you have a situation where Pape Matar and Basuma are going off to the African Cup of Nations come winter time, you're going to need to be replacing them. Or you need to be replacing them with bringing in some youth players now in preparation for 3-4 months' time, when you're not going to be having these two players for 2 or 3 weeks, maybe even longer. We've seen how pivotal they are both to the team, and yes, you'll have Bentancur back, and by January time, he should be up to a speed where he's up and running. It may not be 100%, but he's up and running to a decent enough speed. You know, we've seen him in training, he's stepping up his game. You know, you'll have a Giovanni Lo Celso, you'll have Skip, you'll have, in theory, Højbjerg. But if you move Højbjerg on, then you're going to have to replace him. That's the key part here. Without the African Cup of Nations, we probably wouldn't have replaced him. In theory, I think they probably would have waited the summer, get someone in that they want. But if you're going to be moving him on, I do think you need a replacement, regardless of youth talent. That's my general opinion. Let's talk some injuries. Anyway, let's start with Brennan Johnson. This comes from Alistair Gold, who put out that Brennan Johnson's potential injury was only a tight hamstring rather than a more serious issue. And Johnson did not want to worsen the problem in the moment, which is why he came off. He has been training on the grass following treatment this week, so he potentially can still be in contention for the weekend, which is really good news. I think, look, let's regardless of if you rate a player or not, it's always good to have the bodies there, that you have the options. And let's talk about an option that we haven't had this season, and Brian Hill. Alistair Gold again puts out that Brian Hill is expected to be available for selection imminently after stepping up his recovery and beginning his reintegration back into first team life. I think this weekend might be a bit too soon, just a bit too soon, but I think next weekend onwards, you might start to see Brian starting to pop up on the bench a little bit. He's going to need some time to get himself into match fitness. You know, your sort of 10, 15 minutes here and there is obviously going to be really, really crucial for him. And let's talk about the main man himself. The main man at his roast dinners, James Maddison. Again, Alistair Gold, 3 for 3 on this one. He says the initial signs immediately after the injury appeared to be positive at James Maddison, who played on for another 5 minutes or so and was moving fine. I would say fine's a bit of a broad statement. I said he was moving okay. He looked a bit ginger. I think there's still the shock of the injury or the hyperextension of his knee, but I think he was moving okay. He's been playing through various knocks in recent weeks, and Spurs have kept a close eye on him this week on the grass at Hotspur Way. But there is positivity. But that positivity has so far remained around his chances of playing against Liverpool this weekend. Look, I don't think you're going to win or get a good result out of the game without Maddison playing a key part. He's very crucial to the way we play. I think having a player like Brennan Johnson with just that roaring pace is really important as well for the team. I think we saw flashes of Brennan Johnson looking, I'd say, quite decent against Arsenal. I think you could be using him again. He might not start this weekend purely because, look, tight hamstring, you don't want to put him in there for 90 minutes. He might come off the bench. But, you know, you've still got Mano Solomon there, you know, and that's the beauty of the situation. You've still got Richarlison there. And we know Richarlison loves these sort of games, being a former Everton player against Liverpool, obviously. But I think it's nice to have those, and I call them different styles of players who can all play into the system, but different style of players that can give you different versions of an attack. And against a Liverpool team who, defensively, you can get at them, Maddison's going to be crucial for getting link-up play with the attack. I think Brennan Johnson with roaring pace could be really important. He may not start, he may come off the bench, but against, you know, more tired legs, he could be really, really important. And in regards to Brian, I just think it's a bit too soon, that's all. And I do think we'll start to see a little bit of Brian October time onwards, because this game's still in September. It's still in September. It won't be October, I don't think. Well, it might be October 1st, actually. If it is, shoot me. But you'll start to see, I think, him more so towards the middle part of October onwards. I mean, he was out for a few months, so he hasn't had enough of a pre-season to get himself going. But anyway, guys, that's the end of the video. I hope you did enjoy it. If you did, drop a like on the video if you did. Hit me in the comment section below around the Pierre-Emile Hojbjerg situation. Would you be happy with a loan with an option to buy, or would you expect a loan with an obligation? You know, hit me in the comments. I want to have that conversation. Subscribe to the channel if you are new and hit the bell notification for more. I will have another video out later, so I promise you're going to want to have a look at that one as well. Anyway, guys, that's the end of the video, and I'll see you all very, very soon. Take care, guys.